My parents were teachers, and they stressed the importance of hard work, of community, and of tolerance. My coaches were dedicated volunteers who taught me the importance of teamwork, ambition, and because it's Canada, humility.
Riveting the crowd there. That's the new leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, the man who will soon be Prime Minister, Mark Carney. Decisive victory yesterday, almost 86% of the vote. Let's get the take of one Liberal MP on yesterday's events. Anthony Housefather is back on the program. Of course, he represents the riding of Mount Royal. Hi, Anthony. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Elias.
So I got to ask you this off the top, right? You endorsed Chrystia Freeland. Why do you think she got shellacked yesterday?
So I endorsed her. She is a friend of mine, and she has been incredibly helpful to me over the last 10 years, including us $25 million in funding for the Montreal Holocaust Museum. So I personal loyalty is really important to me, and I endorsed her for that reason. She's my friend, and I had not met Mark, up until the campaign. Why do I think it happened? I think two things. I think one, that Liberals wanted something new. They wanted somebody who represented change, and that Chrystia was harmed by the fact that she was in cabinet and associated with Prime Minister Trudeau. And I think most Liberals wanted to, change away from Prime Minister Trudeau. And I think the second thing was polls started showing a Carney effect in terms of he personally was running higher in the polls than the other candidates. So I think Liberals are a party that's a pragmatic party. They want to win, and I think everybody sort of rallied around Mark.
So with that in mind, you said you did eventually get to meet Mark Carney during this campaign. Did he sway you at all? How was that? And give me your impressions of Mark Carney.
Incredibly smart. We both come from, a type of background where we've worked in the United States. I used to be the chief administrative officer and general counsel of a U.S.-based multinational. So we had much of our conversation focused on the trade relationship with the United States and business in the United States. And then part of it on other issues I was concerned about and focused on antisemitism in Canada. And I was actually really impressed at the wide breadth of knowledge he had. And he had far more knowledge about very specific policy positions related, for example, to my anti-Semitism file than I had expected. And I was really impressed. He's a really nice, personable guy.
Do you think that Mark Carney is a uniter? First things first, a uniter of your party. I mean, 86% certainly indicates something there.
I think everybody's united in the party right now. I think everybody's just so happy to be in a position, right, that's so different from where we were in December that I think everybody is quickly united. I don't think that'll be an issue within the party.
Do you think Mark Carney is a uniter when it comes to the country? And I ask you this for a couple of reasons, right? You've brought up a couple of times already here your role and some of the things you've worked on. I know you're the special advisor for Jewish community relations and anti-Semitism for the federal government. And when I say uniter, the stuff that we have seen since October 7th, 2023, almost a weekly basis here, do you think he's the type of leader that would change what we've seen on the streets of Canada?
Well, I mean, I think we first have to acknowledge that the Prime Minister can't by themselves change what happens on the streets because policing is municipal. But we can show leadership and he can show moral clarity. And I think he will. I was really impressed by that. And I think in his own capacity as a private citizen, I think he actually already signed a letter, going back with other business leaders, condemning what was happening on the streets. So I was really impressed. I was encouraged. For example, we had discussions about changing the criminal code related to glorification of terror, related to setting up bubble legislation and new intimidation offense for blocking access to community buildings and schools. And I was really impressed.
I have a concern from a listener here, and I'll pass it along to you. I'd love to get your thoughts. They have a concern looking at some of the backers of Mark Carney's campaign, among them Mélanie Joly. They were very close. Mélanie Joly offering briefings to Mark Carney, for crying out loud, even before he was named a leader here. Do you have any concerns that there may be people that Mark Carney is attached to in the Liberal Party that perhaps you've battled with over anti-Semitism and other concerns over the last year or so?
Well, I haven't really battled with people on anti-Semitism. I think everybody in our party recognizes that anti-Semitism is a really big issue. We're a wide, diverse party. He drew a wide, diverse spectrum of supporters from every part of the party. So No, I'm not concerned about that at all. I think he's going to be a really good leader. I think the main focus in this election and the main focus for Canada right now is how to deal with Donald Trump. And I think he will have a very stable, clear message about handling the Trump relationship that is, I think, going to be the focus of the election campaign, the focus of most Canadians. When I go to doors now in my riding, that's what people are talking about. It's the United States.
We're with Anthony Housefather, the Liberal MP, represents Mount Royal. What's in the cards here, Anthony? Do you think you're going door to door right now, but do you think we'll be in an election sooner than later?
I do. I mean, I have no inside knowledge of that, but I think we can presume that either an election will just be called by the new prime minister, or alternatively, we'll go back to the House. And based on what opposition parties have said, the government will fall pretty quickly. So I would get everybody's, ready for a spring election for sure.
Are you feeling a little wind beneath your wings with Mark Carney at the helm?
I think the Liberal Party is certainly doing better nationally, and certainly people in my riding seem to like Mark Carney. I as always, try to run on my record, and I'm still going to run on my record. But of course, it's much, much easier when you have a leader who you think you're more aligned with, and one whose policies are more to the center. And I've been for the last 18 months, I've been fighting very hard for our party to move back to the center, and I think with Carney we will and have.
Let me ask you about some of the things that people have said about Mark Carney in the negative column, because boy, do I hear all the accolades, right? And you've brought them up so well.
I've read your Twitter. I've seen some of the negatives.
Yeah, so just on the financials, right, and on the Brookfield stuff. This is the thing that grinds my gears, right? Is when he's and he's chair of Brookfield. Brookfield moves its headquarters from Toronto to New York. He's asked about it, and, I had Robert Fife on the program from the Globe and Mail in the last hour. When he's asked about it, well, he fibs, he lies, I don't know what, he plays fast and loose with the truth on that, right? And I'll leave it to people like Robert Fife to describe that he didn't tell the truth on that subject here. On that stuff, on the financial stuff, the financial decisions, do you consider that a weakness at all of Mark Carney?
So there's two things. On his experience, being the chairman of Brookfield, being the chairman of Bloomberg, or being on the board of Bloomberg, I consider those things strengths. In terms of the disclosure, I think there's a lot of confusion here, right? Brookfield Corporation is the head company, right? It didn't move anything.
Brookfield Asset Management,
right,
is the one that moved.
Which is a subsidiary of Brookfield Corporation, which is the Canadian company, the parent company, which still is headquartered in Toronto. No jobs moved to the United States as a result of this. No, it's not what Trump was asking for. Trump is trying to get jobs in the United States, manufacturing jobs in the United States. This isn't what happened. They moved because they had more investors in the United States and they want to have more visibility on the U.S. stock market. So I don't have any issue with what Brookfield did, and he's going to have to because it's Mark Carney's personal past. He's going to have to explain it to everyone in a correct and clear way.
Who do you think your competition is? Is it Pierre Poilievre or is it Donald Trump?
Well, my competition in this riding is Neil Oberman, who's the Conservative candidate running against me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If you mean nationally,
but for the Liberals,
yeah,
for Mark Carney.
I think right now the competition is certainly the other parties running in Canada, but I think the election issue for all Canadians, or most Canadians, will be who can most effectively handle the Canada-U.S. relationship, which is, Canada's most important trading relationship and relationship in every way. So I think that many Canadians will be looking at Donald Trump and say, do we want to have a Canadian leader who is like Donald Trump, or one who is incredibly different than Donald Trump? And I think that's probably what many Canadians will base their voting decisions on.
Perhaps we'll be speaking sooner than later, and perhaps it will be in the midst of a federal election. Anthony, thank you so much for coming on.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much, Elias.
That's Anthony Housefather, a Liberal MP, of course, represents Mount Royal.